All right, so today is Friday. I would highly recommend that by the end of the day that you'd have those first two exercises in your first assignment done. They're pretty simple and straightforward, and that'll leave you all of next week to do that third one, which we're going to start. We've got a lot covered already necessary for that, but basically you're going to be doing that patient data that you did last year. And to do that, you probably may, you don't have to, but you may want to start defining a class. And Python, does support classes. You'll find immediately that it's kind of an afterthought. And the reason is it's not really an object-oriented programming language. It started out as more of a functional programming language. And it does support classes, but as you'll see, it's not. There's really no inheritance. There's really no real, true, strong encapsulation. There's just weak encapsulation and what's called duck typing. So what is duck typing? Well, we have a saying, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, right? It waddles and it quacks, then what is it? It's a duck, right? And so that's what a class in Python is. If it has a waddle method and if it has a quack method, then it must be a duck, right? But otherwise, because it is not strongly typed, we don't have any enforcement of that thing is a book, or that thing is a student, or that thing is a duck, right? It's just what it is. So let me go ahead and start by giving you a demonstration here of we want to process some data. Let me go ahead and create a new file called bookdata.csv. I've done this kind of demonstration before, but I did pull brand new data this year. So let me show you what it looks like. I've got 100 records here from goodreads.com. I've massaged it and I've eliminated some of the data, but it's got data that includes an ID of the book. That's the Goodreads ID. The title, the last name of the first author, the first name of the first author, an ISBN, a rating, and a year. Okay? That's what I want to represent a book. So let me come over here, and eventually I'm going to want to read that file and process it line by line. And let's go ahead and outline some things that we want. For example, we want the highest rated book. Right? We want the lowest rated book. Right? We want all the oldest book. Right? We want all books by Terry Pratchett. Right? That's just because that's one. That's an author. I think that there are multiple books in there by him, right? Or in more generally, or organize books by author. In other words, I want all the books by Terry Pratchett right here. I want all the books by Douglas Adams over here. I want all the books organized by author somehow. So that's my ultimate goal there. My first step, though, is to think more object-oriented, even though Python's not an object-oriented programming language. My first step is let's think about a building block. How do we represent just one book? Right? Now in C, I would do a structure, right? And then I would put these 7 things into that structure. And now I've got a book. If it were Java, I would create a class called book, and I would put these 7 things in there. Over here in Python, I'm going to do very similar. I'm going to create a new file called book.py. Why? Because we demonstrated last time that you can go ahead and separate things out into different libraries. And so if I'm going to start and have a book class, I'm probably going to want it in its own file, right? Just to organize code a little bit better. Otherwise, everything ends up being in demo, okay? So here is the syntax for creating a class. Who would have thought? Class. And then you give it a name. Now in Python, they do follow the Pythonic way of naming classes using upper camel casing. So capital B, book in this case. Right? Now what is a book? Well, it is all these things, but it doesn't have to be. Right? What do I set it to? If this were Java, I would say say string ID. Why? Because it needs a name. But does ID have a type here in Python? No. So ID by itself, but then even that is like, okay, you're just declaring a variable there, right? You're not even declaring a variable because you're not even setting it anywhere. This has no effect essentially. So what we need is a starting point. Right? How do you create books? How do you create a book in Java, say? You need this function, this very special function that creates a book, that generates a book, that constructs a book. And that's what we're going to do. def init underscore underscore. These are underscores. All of these functions that I'm about to write begin with 2 underscores and end with 2 underscores. They're called magic functions. They're built into the language in that the language knows that there should be an init function. And if you don't provide one, like lawyers, if you can't afford one, one will be provided for you. One will be provided for you, a default constructor. Unlike Java, though, you can't have multiple constructors. There's only one constructor. You can't have init also, right? That doesn't work. There is one constructor here, okay? Now, with your constructor, unfortunately, what you'd have to do is you have to put self here. The reason that you put self is that it makes it a member function for this object. If you don't put self there, then the scoping of the function becomes gets hoisted up, and I believe that it is now a global function of some sort, or something funky happens. Okay, and then put everything that you want to set to. Right? Bad spacing there. How could I take care of that spacing? Anytime I find a comma, replace it with a comma space everywhere. And I didn't even need regular expressions for that at all, did I? There, done. Right. So there is my constructor. You do have a colon at the end. Now in your constructor, here's where you set the member variables. Self.id is equal to ID. Right. Self.title is equal to title. Last is equal to last. Self.first is equal to first. And here I'm going to change this ISBN 13 into just ISBN, right? Because ISBN, if it's all caps, that tells you that it's kind of a global constant, like pi or something. They don't even do that with pi, though. So I'm going to go with ISBN. There we go. Self.ISBN is equal to ISBN. Rating, self.rating is equal to rating. Those of you coming from a Java background, do you see an immediate difference here? We don't have self in Java. What do we have? This, right? So it kind of anthropomorphizes it a little bit, right? It's not just an object; it's a person now. It's this nice little Furby that we can give a personality to, I guess, right? But otherwise, it's using self, right? Each one of these things is optional. So, for example, you can use the same things that we discussed yesterday. That if you do not provide a year, one will be provided for you. 0, a default. That's the default anyway, I think. But or that it's optional. Like the last, like not all ISBNs will be there, so we could leave that as a blank string or something. Okay. All right. That's how you can create a book. Let me come over here to demo, and let's start by creating a book. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of everything. We'll start over here. Right? Well, first of all, does this file, demo, know anything about books? Not yet. How do we import it? From book, import book. Now it knows about books. So let's go ahead and create a book. Right? Let's see. I'm going to have to remind myself. Sorry. Yeah. In Java, we would do something like this. Book B is equal to new book. Right? And then provide stuff. We're not going to be able to do that because do we have static typing in Python? Nope. You just say B, right? Now, there is no new keyword. You just say book, and then you call the constructor on it. So, for example, let me pull the first one. That's on my to read list. Yeah, I've read that one. That's a bedtime story for my son. All right, so we'll go ahead and make this into, I don't know, an ID? Nah, IDs aren't strings, they're numbers. This certainly is a string. There we go. That certainly is a string. It's by Peter Brown. Not everything has an ISBN. So what you could do is you could leave that as missing, right? So like an empty string or something, and then here's the rating, and then here's the year. Right? Excellent. Oh, okay. I like that even better. None. Right? Okay. Which one was none, though? Come back a week from now, and what variable is that assigning that to? Well, no, that's perfectly fine if you then go back to the book. Oh, okay, it was the ISBN, right? This is an argument for using named parameters, right? How do I know that this wasn't the ISBN? Right? No, this is the ID. How do I know that this was the ISBN? Equals none. There we go. You can name them, right? And it'll still work. Let's make sure that maybe I've screwed up already. Positional argument. Come on, really? I have to name them all. ISBN rating. All right, fine. Title is equal to last is equal to first is equal to. That should actually be enough, right? Nope. The positional argument still fine. I'll do them all. Rating is equal to and year is equal to. Did I do them all? Okay, there. Now it's satisfied. Right? But that allows you to mix and match them. Right? You don't have to go in the order that I prescribe over here in my constructor. You can do whatever you want, right? And then if some of these are optional, right, then you probably do need the named parameters, right? But that's one way of doing it. Okay. Now let's go ahead and print book. In fact, let's pretty print it. Let's just print it for now. Print B. What's going to happen? Same thing that happens in Java. It's a book and the memory address that it's stored at. Is that all that useful? Nope. So let's come back over here and add another piece of the puzzle here. And by the way, you should document these things. You don't have to get fancy. You don't have to get long. Represents a book. There. Done. Right, if you need to, you can come back. This is a trivial function. Everybody who knows Python knows that this is a constructor. Right? You don't have to say that this is the constructor, right? And spell it wrong, right? Don't do that, right? That is a trivial function. That's a built-in function. You don't need to document it. It's self-documenting. You should document books, even the class, even though arguably this is self-documenting. I'll just leave it, right? So we need another method here, a method that will format this properly so that you can output it to the standard output. Right? In Java, this would be a toString method. In Python, it's another magic method, so underscore underscore str underscore underscore. Right? There's another one that we'll talk about here in a second. Again, all member methods have to have this self here. Okay. And for now, I'll just go ahead and return a formatted string that includes the self.title and by self.last and comma self.first. Right there. That's going to return the title. And here, let's put it in parentheses here because I want the best in the year, say. Self.year and then the self.rating. There. That's good enough. So that I can get The Wild Robot Protects by Brown, Peter, published in 2023, and 4.24. In fact, that's the third one, I think. I just finished that one last night, actually. Good series. It's a kid's series, but I'm reading it to my kids, so there. Right. I've got a whole bunch of, there are lots of weird books, but these are the books that I've read, some of the books that I've read. Anyway. Come back, and we've now got our print statement here. Okay. There's another one called rep, and I forget the nuance difference for it. Repro, right? I think it is called. And I'm just going to go ahead and repeat what I did over here with the string. I think one of these is for data serialization, and one of them is for just for printing a string. We'll go ahead and just leave that here, though. But if you want to look up what the repro magic function is for, right? But there's a subtle nuance difference there. Okay. For example, I think maybe prettyprint, pprint.pprint. Oh, you know what? You do need repro if you have got a list of books. So we might need to come back to that at some point. Yep, there we go. So prettyprint is using the repro one. Let me go ahead and restore that. And we'll see that pretty print is going to use the same thing. Right? In fact, should I be repeating my code here? Repeat, repeat. What should I do? Return self.str. Right? Or is it str self? I forget. Let's try this. Nope. Self. Maybe one more self. Nope. Okay, I forget how to do it, so I will repeat my code. Somebody else look that up. How do I call a magic function from another magic function? Let me know about that. Anyway, that's a good start. Let's actually now read in all of these books. So instead of just creating one book, I'm going to read them all in. As a review, how did we open up a file last time? It's kind of like fopen, but it was just a regular open. And we'll open up bookdata.csv for reading. Right? Reading, right? Yeah. Now, I don't much care to go line by line by line. You can if you want. I'm just going to get all the lines. f.read lines. Before I move on, what should I do? For close, right? f.close. Right? I've now read all the lines. Okay? Let's just go into a regular old for loop here to verify that all the lines are actually read. For line in lines. In lines. Right? Print line. Okay? There we go. All right, so I am indeed getting everything from the very beginning here. I'm getting the header line there. That's not actual data. That's metadata. I'm getting blank lines every other one. Why? Because the end line characters here are preserved. Right? Okay, and what would happen if I said put in that many lines right there? What's going to happen now when I run this? Whole bunch of empty lines. Right? So let's think about how we can massage this data before we start creating books. First of all, I don't want the first line. Remove the header line. Lines is equal to 1 through the end. Right? Cool? Right? If I started it at 0 or blank, then I would get everything. I'd only want the last one. Right? Now I want to remove blank lines. ... Right? Let's do another comprehension. Line for line in lines. Right? If not is empty, or empty line. Now this one I'm going to have to look up. How do you determine if a string is empty? Python is string empty. How to check if it's string? If not, okay, it's just a not. Right? If not's my string. Right? If not, line. So I want it if it's full, so negate it there. If line. That's kind of weird, right? But it's, what does PHP call it? PHP calls it truthiness, right? Some things are true, some things are false. Then there are other things that are kind of truthy, right? For example, an empty list is false. None is false. But you have a list and you put one thing in it, now it's true. It's truthy, right? So kind of hand wavy, right? Let's go ahead and print these out, pprint lines. Let's see if that got us where we want to be. Oops, come on. There we go. All right, oops, wrong. Oh, what did I do? Lines, there we go. All right. Okay, so I am getting all those end lines. Why? It's not empty, right? I need to strip it. If.strip. Right. Now, if I strip it, then it should remove all the leading white space and trailing white space. That means that I will no longer get those blank lines at the end. Right? Now they're gone. But I also don't want those end line characters at the end of each line. So let's strip those out too. There. And now I've got the data kind of where I want it to be. Right? There are the lines. Okay? Let's get rid of that for now. They're not books yet, though. All right? So we could write a traditional for loop here. For line in lines. All right? What I'll do is I'll strip it out. I'll split it out into tokens. Do we remember how to do that? It's just split, right? Lines.split, or line, excuse me, one line, dot split. And we'll split along commas here. pprint.pprint line, or I need to capture that, sorry, tokens. Right? So that's a review of string manipulation. And let's print them all out and see if it worked. Tokens, spell it correctly. There we go. And it looks like it did to me. There's Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. And it was split out into all of those things. All right. Okay. So what I can do now is I can create the book. B is equal to book. Now, I know that the title is the second one. I know that the ID is the first one. So tokens of 0. I know that, now I forget, right? Here's a nice compact way of doing this, okay? I want the, what was it again? The ID, the title, the last name, the first name, and the ISBN, the rating and the year like that, is equal to tokens. What does that do? Pythoners that already know Python. Do they call it flattening? It's called Splat. Is it called Splat? Splattening. Yeah, what it's going to do is it's going to take out everything in the array, and it's going to put it into each one of those variables one by one. Right? Let me show you. Print ID F ID comma title. There we go. And I'm not concerned about the rest of them. I'm just going to do that one. Oops, no, it's not. Is it 2 of them? That's for maps. Should just be 1, but what? Can't use the start expression here. Why not?
Instead of using the tuple, make it a list.
Really? That it should be able to do a tuple. No. All right. Python star operator example. All right. Yeah, you should be able to split it out there. All right, fine. You can't make it into a tuple? Okay, maybe not a named tuple. Foo is equal to, that doesn't sound right either. Maybe not a tuple at all. Are you happy with that? Nope, still not. There's a way of doing this though. I'm just not remembering off the top of my head. Basically, do they call it Splat? I don't see Splat here. What do they call it officially? Intermediate. I don't think there's a name, at least in this article. But whatever. Obviously, that's multiplication, whatever. That's not what we want. We want it to be this. Passing functions, arbitrary positional arguments, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. All right. I don't think we can do that then. Can we do it like, can we just do it like this? Yep. We don't need the, I'll go with your word, splat. We don't need the splatter there, right? So did that work? Well, there's a black cauldron with 24,784. Let's make sure that that worked. There's the black cauldron with that value. Right? Now, those coming from a non-Python background are going to be really surprised. Wow, you could do that? Yeah. Here's another use case for it. A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, right? Or 20. And A comma B is equal to B comma A. I just swapped those two variables, right? Weird, you can put more than one variable on the left-hand side. You can, but that's syntactic sugar. All it's doing is creating a tuple. On the left-hand side, that's still only one thing. What it's doing is it's magically adding the tuple and then taking it away for you. It's not actually violating the fundamental syntax rules of assignment operators. Now, if we go back to our library over here, you can actually return multiple values, 0, 10, right? you can return, and I'm going to put that in quotes there. In a function, you can return multiple values. Does that sound like a function to you? Here's the unit circle. Is it a function? No. Why? Fails the vertical line test because 1x maps to 2y's. That ain't a function. What's happening is, yet again, it's syntactic sugar. It's wrapping them up in a tuple, giving you that one tuple that has three things, triple in this case, and then it's unpacking it or splitting it out or whatever, right? So yes, you can do this, but it's not doing, there's magic under the hood that you should know about, right? And I'm doing it right there. Each one of those things gets that thing, right? Now, what the difference between this, the splatter or the double splatter is, I don't know, right? In any case, I can go ahead and create a book now. B is equal to book of all that stuff. Copy, paste, right? Or I could probably just do tokens.
This is where you might even have to start.
Ah, there's the gotcha, maybe. All right, pprint.pprint b. Bingo, right? So I could split them out all out into their own variables, or when I pass it, it'll get split out into each one of those variables. Nice, right? I like that, right? Now, this kind of syntactic sugar and these little tricks are nice when you're sufficiently advanced enough in a program, but when you first, programming language, but when you first see them, you're like, whoa, it's dereferencing? I didn't know that there was pointers there, right? So you can go overboard, keep it simple at first, and then start using these things as shorthand. Right? I've got all my books. Is there another, even better way of doing this? Probably we could do a list comprehension of some sort, right? And then I can add, here, books is equal to an empty list, and then books dot, how do I add something to the end of a list? Append B. And now let's print out all the books. Now I've got it in a format that I can really now work with, because I can go through and find the best book. Highest rating is equal to -1, because Goodreads are 0 through 5, so I know that -1 is an invalid value. So for each book, be in books, right? If B dot rating is higher than the highest rating, then I will update the highest rating to be B dot rating. And I also need to keep track of the book, so best book is equal to B.
This is not
Is not Pythonic, no. So I'll hold that thought for a second, right? What I can do in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code here, in fact, no programming language should you do this. And what's the best book? Right. Oops, best book is not defined, none. Oops. Highest rating, B dot rate. Oh, let's go back over here to book. Is rating a number? Nope. So what can we do? Int, but they are doubles, so float. Likewise, year is not a string. We'll go ahead and make that into an int. And arguably, you could make ID into an int as well, right? I'll just do all the data conversion inside that class so that I can do this. There we go. All right. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, 4.48. Right? At least in this collection. Right? And I'll remind you that ratings are based on user ratings, so it's popularity, not the best, right? Likely, I mean, it is a good book, but not the best book I've ever read. But in this collection, that's the best book. What about the worst book? Copy, paste. Go from best to worst. Go from highest to lowest, right? And I'll need to make, again, 0 through 5, so I'll go ahead and make this 100, so that when I find a book that's worse than it, let's see, worst book and lowest rating, change this around to less than, there we go, And there's the best book, and here's the worst book. I have no idea what's the worst book, the least popular book that I've read in the last couple of years. They'd rather be right by Mark Clifton. Okay, all right. Yeah, very early 1950s science fiction. They believe it was a book about the power of thought to physically to change your physical appearance or something, right? So it was it was 50s psychology kind of science fiction. Terrible, right? It won a Hugo though. That's why I read it, right? But anyway, that's not the Pythonic way either. That's not in any programming language. Forget that noise. Alternatives. What's the best book and what's the worst book? How could I find those both with much fewer lines of code? Sort it? Okay. Let's sort it. All right? That gets us into sorting. All right? So first of all, let's take a little bit of a digression. Numbers is equal to 4, 6, 3, 2, 7, 8, 2, whatever. There we go. How do I sort numbers? There are a couple of ways. Numbers dot sort, I think it is, and then pprint dot pprint numbers. Let's see if that works. Otherwise, it's sorted. There we go. There, sort. It works. Now, be careful. What this is doing is it's changing your list. All right? If you want to preserve the original list and have a sorted copy, you can do that as well. Right? Here's a sorted copy. I think it's sorted numbers, and then you can put that into foo, and we'll print out foo instead. Obviously, it's not going to change because, whatever. But the idea here is that if I add something to foo.append 42, then it is not going to affect numbers. It is a complete deep copy. Right? Do you see that? I just appended 42 to foo, which was a sorted copy of the original. Okay? So this will sorts the given list. This will returns a sorted copy. Right? And that was just me proving to you that it worked. Okay? Okay. No, I didn't want it in ascending order. That's the default. How do I get it in descending order? So here's a way. Numbers.sort, and I think it's reversed first is equal to true. True? There we go. And let's print out numbers. Forget about foo now. And let's print out numbers. Nope, it's not reversed. What is it? Reverse. Okay. So it's a verb, not a... It's reverse, so it's an intransitive verb. There we go. So this is a transitive verb, and then this was, I was thinking it was an intransitive verb, but whatever. Right? Do you all remember your grammar? Transitive verbs, gerunds, direct objects? No? Okay, fine. Say it in English class. Right. So there we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, whatever. So all you have to do is pass in another argument here. Right? That works for numbers. It works for strings as well. It works for anything that's really built in, right? But how do we, I'll leave that there for a second. How do we do it for books? Let's try it. Books.sort. There we go. And then let's print it out. pprint.pprint books. Get rid of that. And there. Uh-oh. I don't know how to sort books, right? That's Python speaking. Here's a book, here's a book. How do I tell the difference between them? How do I say this one comes first and this one comes second? Or reversed or something like that. Here's one way of doing it. I'm going to go ahead and go into the book class, and I need to tell Python that how do I order this book with respect to that book? And that's going to require a couple of things. I'm going to require at least two functions here, self and other. Right? Right? And we'll come back to that and do it here in a second. And less than, yep, and self. Self and other. There. EQ, that stands for equals. Therefore, by a process of elimination, what does LT stand for? Less than, right? You can also have greater than, GT, not equals NEQ, I think, or NE, and strictly less than, greater than, strictly greater than. You can do the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, etc. You only need two, though, right? If you use a tool to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a tool called func-tools, functional tools, and a total ordering. Right? And then I'm going to annotate this class to be a total ordering. What that does is it tells Python, it tells this library, look, I want this book to be a total order. I'll define what that is here in a second. You need to at least define two of those functions. I'm going to define equality and I'm going to define less than. Once you've got those two others, all the others are taken care of by the library. Not equals, less than, or greater than, strictly greater, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Those other four are taken care of by the library. You just need to at least have two of them. Okay? Now let's do, so you actually come up here. What is a total order? Have you done, you probably haven't done that in 235 yet. You will eventually. A total order is such that every object is comparable to every other object. In other words, you can say that it is A is less than B, right? 10 is less than 20. All the numbers that you've dealt with in your entire life up to this point is a total ordering. It doesn't have to be that way. You can have objects that are incomparable. Here's an object, here's an object. Does this one come first or does this one come first? Undefined. That's called a partial ordering. So what you generally do is you take a partial ordering and you force it to become a total ordering. And that's what this library is doing for you. For us, it just simply means do these two functions and be done with it. Right? So I can return. How do you want to say that this book is equal to that book? How do you want to compare books? We've got a couple of options. In fact, we've got many options. That book is equal to that book if they have the same Goodreads ID. That book is equal to that book if they have the same ISBN. That book is equal to that book if their ratings are the same. That seems a little less satisfying. So, if we want this to be the comparison for books, what should we do? ISBN? I'll go with that. Return ISBN self.isbn is equal to ISBN, excuse me, is equal to other.isbn. Actually, you don't need to put these into tuples. All right. There we go. All right. Well, if you're going to do it by ISBN, it needs to be consistent. So let's go ahead and return self.isbn is less than other.isbn. Right. That's one way. What's another way? What if it were by author instead? Right. Well, an author has a last name and a first name. Right. So I could return self.lastname or is less than or equal to other.last. Right. But then if you've got the same last name, Terry Pratchett, it's the same person, right? Or the other example I'll use is probably Herbert, Frank Herbert, the father, Brian Herbert, the son, right? Herbert, who comes first? Brian, because B comes before F. So what you can do is you can break ties by simply adding another argument. Self.first. Other.first. That will order it in last name. Last names are the same. Now it'll break ties using first name. What about all of Frank Herbert's Dune books? Right? Frank Herbert, Frank Herbert, Frank Herbert, Frank Herbert. How do you order all of those books? Now let's go ahead and do it by ISBN. Right? And other.isbn. Or you could do it by year or rating or whatever. Right? All I'm doing is putting these things into tuples, and it'll go left to right. If this is a tie, then it goes to the second one. If that's a tie, then it goes to the third one. Then it goes to the fourth one, fifth one, etc. I'll leave this in here, but comment it out because obviously you can't have two return statements. Right? Now let's come over here to the demo and see if that worked. There we go. It did indeed work, right? So we're not seeing the ISBN here, but what's the very first one? The wild robot protects. Oh, okay. Is that really the lowest ISBN? Protects. Right? Nope. Fine. Did I spell it right? Protects. There we go. There's that big. That's not. Oh, did I go in the other order? So if this is the less than that one. Oh, I reversed it. Yeah. No, I didn't reverse it.
That was
The oh.
yeah, his ISBN was.
Oh. Thank you. You said ISBN. Sorry. So there's the wild robot protects. Uh-oh. It's a missing piece of data. All right. We know that we have IDs over here, but what about this? Well, it ends up being an empty string. Empty strings come before everything. Right? What's the last thing that got printed? I'm glad my mom died. I think she's a Hollywood actress who had a theater mom, and so that's why. But I have that's on my to read list instead. But there, I would agree that an ISBN that starts with 9 is probably last. Right? Does that get me anywhere to the best book and the worst books? Do ISBNs have anything to do with best books, worst books? Nope. So, but we're almost there, right? We know how to sort now. Sorts using the built or the order defined in the class, right? I don't want to sort it like that. I want to sort it some other way, right? So I could reverse it, but that would just get me reversed in ISBN order, right? Just a second. Let me see. I need to make sure that I'm going to get it right. Yep, there we go. I need a key, right? So books.sort. How do you want to sort it? I want to sort it by a key. This is going to look weird at first, but we'll talk about what this means in a second, and we'll continue it next week. Lambda. It's a lambda function. Excuse me. X dot rating. We want to do that. All right, there we go. And let's print out the books now. Oh, actually, no. Where would the best book be now, if this is correct? Let's find. It's either going to be at the first or the last, depending on the ordering of this. So let's go ahead and print out the first. First book is going to be, what is it? Books sub 0. There we go. And the last book is going to be books of, oh, how do I get the last one? Length of books. Careful, it is 0 index, so -1. And I don't know if that's going to work in formatted strings. I've got too much in my formatted strings. Does it work? Yep, okay, there we go. So first book, they'd rather be right. And last book is The Hate You Give. That's what we had before, right? So what is this thing right here? It's called a lambda function, right? Or it's called an anonymous function. This is basically a function, right? If I were to write a function, what would it look like? Def, this is on, or my awesome function that takes X and then does something. What's the name of this function? My awesome function. You can have anonymous functions, right? Functions with no names. The placeholder we use is lambda. The Greek, it's Greek, right? Greek letter lambda, right? Because it has no name, it's anonymous. It takes a variable x, just like my definition of a function up here does. And it returns, returns x.rating. So what that means is when you are sorting as a key, use this anonymous lambda function that goes out to x and simply just returns its rating. Right? The first book was the worst. So if I want it in descending order, what else would I do? Same thing I did before. Reverse is equal to true. Right? And that will reverse it so that the best is now at the top. All right? Let me get rid of this so that we don't have too much being printed out. Clear. There. The first book and the last book. Now I can call them what they are, the best book and the worst book. line them all up. There we go. The best book and the worst book. What if you wanted to do this instead by year? Year. And I want the oldest books first and then the newest books last. So I want it in, not reverse, but in the default ordering here. So the oldest book is now at the top. And the newest, right? No, newest would be at the top. And oldest would be at the bottom. There you go. No, that's right. I had it right. What am I saying? Oldest and newest. There we go. All right, clear. There. So what's the oldest book? The Odyssey by Homer in negative 700. That's 700 BC, right? And then an excellent book by Stephen Wright just last year. He's a comedian. Yep, that's the newest book, at least according to the year. I'm sure that there are several 2023 books. There's probably only one 700 BC book in that list, but there are probably several 2023 books. Okay, well, among all the 2023 books, I want the newest best book. So, how do I say year and then rating? Return a tuple. X dot rating. There. A different 2023 book that's even better than Harold. Remember, Harold was where is Harold? Harold was only 3.48, should be higher. And now I get the newest book that also has the best rating. Right? What about rating reversed? Here's another trick. Instead of reversing the entire thing, if I did reverse is equal to true, that would reverse everything, years and ratings. I only want to reverse ratings. Right? So it's a number. How could I reverse all numbers? Negative. Right? And now we'll get the newest worst book, which according to this is Harold, right? So a lot of little tricks like this. If you're coming from a C background or a Java background, you will recognize all of this stuff as comparators. And that's basically what this is. The lambda is a comparator that takes X and Y, the two things that you're trying to compare, and it calls the lambda function, returns this pairing or this piece of data from each, and then makes a comparison naturally. Right? So you don't have to write a full function to do it. All you have to do is write a lambda function to do it. Right? And there's the syntax for doing it. Right? Pretty powerful stuff. Python is powerful in that you can do a lot of stuff very quickly. Python is not so powerful in that now you got to maintain that stuff, right? And good luck, right? If you want to get something done quickly, yes, use Python. But if you want to get something done and have it stand the test of time, choose something else. Right? All right, we'll continue on Monday.